Hello, this is Andrew with Mammalian.bike, and this is the recap for the Hell of the Wind 100K 2024. These recaps have become something like an event review as they've developed. That wasn't intentional, but I'm going to lean into it. There are a lot of gravel events out there, and it's even more crowded in the spring. This one was a week after Rough Road, and this next Saturday is Barry Roubaix. In the area around Chicago, Milwaukee, Western Michigan, Eastern Iowa, Southern Wisconsin, and Indiana, we are spoiled for choice. Why not pick events that are safe, fun, competitive, have space for everyone, regardless of fitness level? An event where the organizer knows how to communicate well. There is a great after-event event. It's a fun and challenging course, and safe. I know I said safe twice. It's important to me. It has been amazing to watch the Big River Gravel Series develop. I feel like they nail all of those tick boxes. Signing up for the series was the first commitment I made last year, and it was the first commitment I made this year. The races now attract enough critical mass that there will be a group for everyone when the selections happen, if you want that. And just as important, there's enough critical mass of friendly people at the bit after, where you sit around, have a drink, get some carbs in, and catch up with old friends. You will have the opportunity to make new friends. People hang out afterwards. I like that. I also like checking out other people's bikes. There were a few that I went in for a closer look, like this Obed GVR. The paint on that bike, the photo does not do it justice. I might need to get a new bike. If you take nothing else from this video, 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommended. Let's start with the course. The organizer always puts in a great course. Fun, challenging, demoralizing, in a good way. You may notice a few things about the course. This may seem stupid, but we're going to have a quick chat about it because details matter. And this is an example of how the organizer nails communication and organization. First, it's clear that this is a different course from last year. 2024 is in the title. Not every event does that, even when they make year-on-year changes. Second, edited is called out clearly in the title. This is the second course that was published for the 2024 race. There was a lot of rain last week. Some of the B roads aren't in a rideable state. The organizer didn't want to unbound us, which I appreciate. So we got clear communication that the route was changing and why. This was mentioned in emails and then again at the start. These details matter. Third, let's talk about the course itself. I don't know how it happened. Maybe some dark arts or something. It was primarily a north-south course with some east-west turns in the mix. We had a ripping wind out of the south, which meant that there was no lie in the name of the race. Coming south into that headwind was deliciously demoralizing. Add to that, the course was almost all chunky Iowa gravel, B roads, and up and down rollers. Very little pavement. I loved it. I don't think you could have had too much tire out there. I ran a 45C Schwalbe G1RS. I do not regret that at all. The rollout was super chill. The organizer took us out of the park, then we turned north. I expected that the race would light up pretty fast. It's all rollers after all. There are a lot of places for selections to happen and the groups to form. This is another aspect of good course design. We all want selections to happen early. Turns out the hitters waited until around 4.5 miles in, where there's a good incline after a turn, which incidentally is where I got my first KOM for the day. I suspect that had there not been a train coming, this is where I would have been dropped. You can't see the tracks from the bottom, but it was obvious once you crest the top, and the hitters dialed it down. No one did anything crazy. The group just slowed down and we waited. Then when it was clear, we started up again. I might have mentioned the wind. There was enough of it that it created tactical moments. You know how in World Tour races they talk about crosswinds splitting groups? Yeah, this was one of those kinds of winds. I got caught napping mid-pack as we turned from tailwind to crosswind. Guys at the front lit it up. I thought I was good. I thought I had covered it, but that wasn't the case. I was riding into groups that were moving backwards, and I couldn't see that they hadn't made the selection. I should have taken the outside line instead of trying to shield myself from the wind on the inside. I realized this just as we turned back into tailwind on a fast B road. I love B roads, so I put in some work, hoping to catch back on. I think that if it had been totally straight, I could have done it. But there's a zigzag in the middle. I didn't feel comfortable hitting those turns at full gas, so I backed off a little and then I hit it again. But I couldn't make the catch before we made another turn and another crosswind. It was too late. They were gone. I did get another KOM as a consolation prize. I will take it. I got with a group and we collected some guys that came out of the front group. Some of us were working. There were a bunch that weren't. One of the guys tried to get a rotating pace line going, but there were too many people there just for the ride along. It was frustrating me. I had a brief conversation with one of the guys I ended up finishing the race with about it.
I'm happy to work, but everybody's got to work.
Incidentally, that guy rode one of the smartest races I've ever seen. Someday, I would like to get to where he's at. He tried to get that rotation going a few times. He would pull, I would join in, they wouldn't. It was frustrating. I don't know if they were just unfamiliar with what the goal was. One of the guys in the group would pull through occasionally and take a turn, but we weren't really making up any ground. I wanted to lose the weight, so I made sure to be near the front and do what I could do to force the issue at each of the crosswind sections. I suspect the guys who were willing to work were thinking exactly the same thing. Fortunately, we picked up another strong rider in the meantime. So as we approached a left turn into one of those righteous crosswinds at the top of a hill, the three of us drilled it, and without saying anything, we just started rotating. Quick, sharp pulls put distance between us and the others. And we kept working well together until we caught the group in front of us. Critically, this was just before we turned west, crosswind, and then south, headwind. If we hadn't have made the catch when we did, I don't think we would have. Then it became all about attrition. We lost a few guys coming south. It was tough. Temps were hot for April. It hasn't been very warm around here. That was definitely a factor. I should have brought more water. I finished the race empty. Around 2 hours in, my back started bothering me, which on one hand, that sucked. But on the other, I made it about an hour further into a race before it started spasming. Fortunately, with all the rollers, there was ample opportunity to come out of the saddle on the up parts. It was kind of like hitting a reset button. Every so often, someone would try an attack. There were plenty of hills after all, but into a headwind in a closely matched group, it was hard to get away. That was until the strong rider that worked with us to make the catch attacked on one of the countless rollers with about 13 miles to go and rode away from us. I didn't know how old he was at the time, but I knew he wasn't in my race, so it wasn't my problem. And between us, I don't think I had the legs anyway. Talking with some of the other Masters guys in the group afterwards, they pretty much had the same take. They knew he was young. If any of them had put in the work to cover it, we all would have benefited, and there weren't surplus matches to burn that late in the race. He is 16, ended up getting 4th overall. I had a nice chat with him and his dad/coach after the race. Strong rider, he will have a great future racing bikes. As we closed in the last few miles, things had been cagey for a while. I get it, no one wants to pull the group in. Well, except for my friend who was also in the group. He put in a shift the whole way back. I knew that we were going to go west, then north, then finish, and I did not want to get caught out in a crosswind, so I made sure I wasn't at the back for those last couple turns. Oddly enough, a lot of people, including me, found their legs on that last westward bit. Then as soon as we turned north, it was on. The great thing about it, though, was that even though we were competing, everyone was cool about it. They signaled turns, they didn't do anything crazy in the final bit. There was a bunch sprint, and I might have been able to get into it, but that's not really my thing, so I didn't. I ended up getting 3rd in my race, the Masters, and 9th overall. Pleased with that. There is one thing I do regret about the finish, though, which is a great segue into what I learned in the process. Here again, I rolled through the finish instead of keeping the numbers up. I need to stop doing that. It's possible that I might have picked up a place overall, but that doesn't really matter. It's a mindset thing that I need to work on. I need to ride through the line instead of to the line. The next thing is probably too much to ask. There were 3 of my teammates, including me, in that group. Did we engage in any kind of team tactics? Hell no. We're like herding cats, and I am just as guilty. We need to work on that. If the 3 of us had put in a concentrated effort to get away from the group, we probably could have. We were a solid percentage of that group. I also learned that some seated cat-cow on the bike does wonders for me. I will need to remember to do those before my back self-immolates next time. So I hope you found that useful. If you did, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks.